Greetings and salutations, guys. Welcome to another episode of A Plethora Full of Blah. I'm Jazz.
I'm Dan.
And today we have a special guest.
Hey, my name's Sarah.
Alright, so, tell us a little about yourself and, how you grew up. And we have a plethora of conversations we like to get into. But why don't you tell the folks at home where you're from, all that crap.
Certainly. I'm, mid-20s, supposedly the coolest part of your life. Still wondering about that.
Supposedly.
That's what I hear.
Is it that cool, though?
Some parts of it are cool. I like being able to decide where I want to be and with who and when, but bills suck, so I don't love that part.
Ain't that the truth?
Lived in Philly my whole life. I love it. I love the city, everything it can bring to you. My parents made us move out to the suburbs when I was a teenager, and I was really angry about it, so I joked that that's part of why I went to Temple, to get myself back in the city.
She went to Temple.
What part of the suburbs?
Montgomery County?
Oh, Montco. I'm from Delaware County.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a little bit to the west, and I'm from the southeast.
Yeah,
We're both
there you
from
go.
the
It's like
southeast,
very
yeah.
northwest, yeah.
Yeah.
We both live, like 10 minutes away from each other? 20 minutes?
Yeah. She lives in Chester, and I live in Ridley.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm down in Chester a lot. A little
Why?
side hustle I have.
What side hustle do you have in Chester? There's nothing good for...
I do promo stuff for the Philadelphia Union, so the soccer team down there.
I'm not racist, but lighter-toned individuals in Chester scare me. Caucasians in Chester.
It's so unheard of, Jazz.
It's
Chester's definitely, that area definitely is different than around here, I can say that.
There are these weird country hillbillies that moved in down the road from us, and I rode in and one day heard country music. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Oh.
I hate this. Not that I like any of the music that's booming through our neighborhood.
But you're like, there goes the neighborhood. It's
Yes,
done.
yes. Gentrification, which we're not going to get into.
Or what I call Del Country.
Yes, Del Country.
Del Country.
This
Delco
is
people who think they're country. It's a very real thing.
Oh my god.
when I was in 12th grade for graduation, my friend's uncle drove down in his tractor to her graduation.
What?
Yes.
And you're saying this is in Chester. What?
Well, this is in media.
Oh, media. So
Media.
like
Yes.
just past main line area.
Yeah. There are some scary people in media.
Oh my gosh. I'll never forget it. When we moved to Bluebell, our first day on the school bus, my brother and I were just like very confused looking all around, and there was a cornfield and horses on the way to my high school, and I'm like, what is this? Like, we didn't move that far, did we?
No, that's the cool thing about this area,
Mhm.
is that you get a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, I love it.
What-
You could be at the beach, you could be in the mountains, everything all within an hour drive, maybe an hour and change.
That really is one of the best parts about living in suburbs surrounding Philly. You are just right in the prime location for anywhere you could be. Mountains within 2 hours, beach within 2 hours. You could even take a short drive to Virginia. Like, there's just a whole lot of
I
places.
Be
wouldn't
in
to
New
say-
York City, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Virginia's a short... Well, no, my mom did it in 2 hours.
Just depending on where you're going, yeah.
Yes. Well, I should say, I believe she did it in 2 hours. She's like, don't misquote me on your podcast. So I believe she did it. That's for you, Mom. So you said you went to Temple?
Yeah, I did.
When'd you graduate?
2016.
16.
Oh.
Not far off. I graduated in December of this year. Or last
Oh,
year, sorry.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love Temple.
Okay.
Jazz and I, we have our conversations about her going to Penn State, but
I graduated too,
Did you though?
Did I? I mean, it's all a mystery. But what was your favorite, aside from the education, what was your favorite part about Temple?
I think a lot of people I've gone to Temple with, we kind of joke about the things that you learn outside of the classroom that are just as, if not more valuable.
More, in my opinion.
You know how to jaywalk.
Yeah.
You know how to.
How to not fear traffic.
Yes.
That's the thing, yeah. Not fear traffic, not fear just all different kinds of people you're going to come across being in the city. Handling tough conversations.
What I will say is, now that I do a whole lot of traveling, as far as jaywalking and crossing the streets, Philadelphia is like no other city I've been to when it comes to crossing the street.
Yeah.
Here, you have to zip. Like I said, I was in, Cali a while ago, and people are considerate. They wait for you. Like,
I think that has a lot to do with the drivers. I feel like the drivers in Philadelphia are a lot better than LA.
and then, but also in LA, it's the first time I've ever seen 7-lane traffic, 7 highway, and which is ridiculous.
I've heard about that.
It's frightening.
Oh.
It is like,
So we actually had to cross that.
no, no, I had to cross a 3-lane. But the point is, you have, let's say here, like average, you have like 12 seconds to cross the street. And even then, somebody's still going to try to hit you.
Oh, yeah.
Over there, the countdown is at 45 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And people wait for you. The same thing in D.C., the same thing kind of in New York. Philadelphia is like no other place. They don't care if they hit you or not.
I would argue New York's worse, actually.
Well, yeah, I almost got hit by an 18-wheeler, but whatever.
Yeah, that's another thing that's weird about New York in general is that unlike Philadelphia, like you're gonna see tractor trailers crossing through the city pretty often.
Exactly.
Which I was honestly confused about. I'm like, how are you fitting in between the cities? But I feel like there's not as much old city in New York as there is in Philadelphia, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
But still, it's better than taking the subway. I'd rather, like, take the bike lane and almost get hit by a car than take New York City subway. Ugh.
Oh my gosh, I know. I felt like such a pro in Philly. Like, I know the subway like the back of my hand. And we have 2 lines. And then I was with my friend in New York, and he grabs my arm, and I'm like, I'm fine, I got this. He's like, are you sure? I was so overwhelmed in New York.
I have it down pat now, but that's because I go like once a month. But
That makes sense.
But the weather is nice, and I got this new chair. And as long as I have my battery, I'm gonna hightail it. I am not taking the subway.
I don't blame you.
They're like, you need any help? I'm like, I'll figure it out. Make sure.
If I had one of those chairs, I'd be way too tempted just to go on adventures everywhere. I'd be like, I don't
same.
need to walk. I can just go everywhere.
That's exactly what I do.
Everywhere is Mario Kart.
Every time there's like an event I have to go to, and I usually drink a lot, and I'm pretty tipsy when I'm coming out, and I'm having the time of my life, just rolling through New York City, smiling. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? People must think I'm crazy.
Veering
Oh my
left and right all
gosh.
over curbs and just like.
It's off-roading.
Yeah. Like one time, half of my chair was on the curb, and half of it was in the bike lane. I didn't know.
Oh my gosh. And
Good
you're like
Lord.
this kind of a slant, and you don't
Yeah.
even realize.
This guy who you could tell he played some kind of sport back in his day. He's like, you don't feel that? I'm like, no. With one hand, he picked up the chair and put it back on the thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least come across those good Samaritans. People who want to help you out.
There are not too many of those anymore. So what'd you major in college?
My degree, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Oh, God.
Adult and Organizational Development.
What does that entail?
It's kind of a cross. It was in the College of Education. I was originally trying to be a teacher, and then for a lot of reasons fell out of love with that. But it's little training, focusing on education for adults, sort of HR, human behavior sort of way. Kind of took a lot of classes on team building and kind of designing lessons or trainings.
So, like, education for adults, like, what do you mean?
Like, okay, when you get kind of onboarded to a new job, like, someone's going to be training you and things like that. If you, I guess, like, a lot of people who I graduated with facilitate groups for whatever reason. Like, you might be a consultant for a big company.
Right.
Or you might be the person for a company who goes around to different locations and checks to make sure standards and things like that are upheld.
Right.
So it's a very broad program. So I didn't really like being pigeonholed into an education program before.
So it's like a really like human behavioral study kind of program.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
you're studying humans. Do you find, I believe this, that now that we're adults, we're bigger babies than actual babies
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to...
Oh, my gosh. I tell people that all the time. Through just all the jobs I've had, I've worked in preschool,
Oh.
grade school, college students, all the way up to adults. And adults are the most high maintenance.
They really, like, sometimes my sister and I will get in arguments, and, like, we'll be having all-out, scream-out matches, and my 3-year-old brother will just be staring at the two of us, and my mom will come in the room and say, who's the bigger 3-year-old right now?
Yeah.
It's clearly you two. And he's funny. He wants us to get along. So he'll take my hand and her hand and put it together and go, yay! Because he wants us to get along. And my mom will be like, that's a damn shame.
Yeah, and you're like, I have no time for this.
Yes. And then we'll like snatch her. Oh, shut. I've never said shut up to him. Well, I have, but he deserves it. Anyway, the point is, we feel quite foolish after, like he's like, why? He basically is telling us, why can't we get along?
Oh, I know. And kids are just so innocent in that way. I used to just love, I always joke, kids, you know, you get excited, you can give them a sticker.
Yes.
You can give them a prize or, you know, a point or anything you make up. Kids are thrilled about it. Adults, so they'll see through the facade of that.
He likes to, it is so simple, he likes to roughhouse a lot. And he has this thing, I'll push him and he'll boomerang back, and I'll push him and we'll go back and forth. He thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. Like, he doesn't fall, I'm not doing enough to hurt him, but he'll run up, I'll put my hands out and do like that, he'll fall back and giggle, and he could do that for hours.
I'm sure, and then just sleep like a rock. Oh, no, really? I would hope so.
Apparently this one's just an absolute ball of energy.
Seriously, it sounds like it.
He wakes up, because like that, he used to be afraid of like going up and down the stairs and everything. Now he, he just roams the house as he pleases, and he'll come down and jump on my sister and I, because we're in the same room. And, it's from then on. He wants the TV, because we have a TV in our room. After he's gotten us awake long enough, then he shoves the remote in our face so we can put on Mickey Mouse. Like, for somebody who doesn't talk, he's one of the most high-demand maintenance babies I've ever met.
Entertain me.
Yeah. It's hard. So you said you did preschool? You work with preschool kids?
I did for a little while, yeah.
What was that like?
It was awesome.
Did you get sick a lot? Because they're always carrying germs.
It's funny, I did every so often, but it wasn't until I started traveling post-grad that I was really getting more sick. But I always think preschool made me immune to things, because kids are touching their nose, their face, like food, dirt, everything.
He'll wipe snot like this and then rub it in his hand.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
And then they'll just come over and hug you.
Exactly.
Like, they just want to touch you, and they're so excited. And I'm like, I just saw you put that in your mouth and pick your nose. Like, ugh.
So, one day, he was like 2, and it's like 2 years old, closer to 2. He's, because of some issues, he's still in diapers. What did he do one day? I walked out the room for 2 minutes to get something, come back in. He's in the corner giggling.
Uh-oh.
He has taken his diaper off. He had turds on the floor.
Yeah.
In his diaper. And then he had one that he was literally about to put in his mouth.
Oh,
God.
You're not supposed to scream at a kid. I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, drop it. Oh my God. Like, I was flipping. He thought it was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the good thing is when he poops sometimes, they're like these little balls, so they're easy to pick up. But I was so upset.
Oh, God.
I'm like, go get Mom, because he understands everything you say. I'm like, go get it. I was so furious.
Oh, God. I don't even know how to respond to that.
But you get with preschool, so
I did. I never had a kid poop on the floor.
He didn't poop on the floor. He took his diaper off and the poop fell on the floor.
Sounds like he's getting pretty
just
swifty.
Like, kind of like a loaded diaper type thing.
Yes. All we had to do was just come up to someone, because he can't talk. What he'll do is he puts his butt in your face. And makes this sniffing sound, so that's how he knows. That's how you know you should change him. And I'm like, well, if you can do all that, you need to like sit on the potty.
Oh my gosh, is he just nonverbal or just?
He's just nonverbal.
Okay. But I worked with a kid who was nonverbal, and he was a similar way. He just had certain noises, or would just reach out and touch your arm, and that was usually when he needed something.
He will drag you to wherever he needs. And now that he's tall enough to reach what's in the fridge, we do sign language with him. Okay. I'm like, you want to eat? And he'll give it right back for eat. And I'm like, go get what you want. And usually he'll come back with like yogurt or pudding and a spoon.
Oh. It's like, it sounds like he's very smart. I mean, knows how to communicate his needs and things. Yeah. Oh my gosh, should I strike a chord with
No,
that?
it's good. So, like, what I want to get into next with you guys, other than, like, children, because I love kids. I could talk about kids all day.
Oh, same.
They're amazing, kinda. They're amazing and horrible all at the same time.
I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I actually worked for Ridley's playground program they used to have in the summer. It's funny, I used to be a kid in it, and then when I grew up into high school, I actually was a counselor for it. That was a whole other can of worms, but it was a lot of fun.
What's the youngest age you had?
5? I think it was 5 or 6. I wasn't preschool, so I got lucky. I got out of that era.
They're the fun age.
No, they aren't.
Yes, they are.
5 through I think it was the top age was 11. I think was the highest you can go in this program. It was like 5 to 10. It wasn't meant for like middle school kids. It was meant for like kids who needed something to do over the summer.
So
I used to do it. It was a lot of fun.
What's like? So I guess the last question for you guys on this topic, all of us. What's the weirdest encounter you've had with a kid where you've had to like clean up their mess in some way? It doesn't have to be an actual mess, where you kind of just look at the kid like, how did you survive this long
Oh my gosh.
in life?
I mean, it's kind of a tough one. I used to have one problem kid back when I was working the playground program. He just kind of wanted to be the toughest kid on the playground, and that was just the only real issue. It wasn't really much of a mess. He would just get kind of scraped up because he'd play too rough.
Okay.
But I didn't really have any particular messes with them. They were some pretty well trained kids, well potty trained, I guess you'd say.
Well, potty trained.
Yeah.
Or I mean, like something funny, like a kid, like you look at him, you're like, you know what, kid, touche. Well, you're right.
I can't remember. There was one little girl who always had it out for me. Like she always just had to outsmart me in some way every day.
That's
Her name was
awesome.
Bella. She was adorable. Every day she had to outsmart me in some way. There were a couple of days I couldn't remember what it was exactly. It was something like usually she tried to hide things from me.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, she's little. There's no way she'd probably get anything. I can't remember what it was. One of the balls that we had that she really, really, really was just like attached to. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna share with the other kids now. And then I was just gone for weeks, and I find it like hanging on top of like a rafter somewhere.
Oh my god.
Well, it wasn't really a rafter. It was like they had like one of them little jungle gym like climbing walls, like
Yes.
the rungs that went all the way up. It was in a box like on the shelf in the back of it. I was like, touche, madam. Touche, young madam.
She really did that.
Yeah, she was hyper. It was
She
funny.
probably had a crush on you. That's why she gave you. That's what little kids do. What about you?
Oh
like
my
one kid
gosh.
where you're just like, why?
I think. Okay. This is a little bit different, but these are kids who I babysat for. These 2 boys. And they lived around the corner from me in high school, so it was nice. Like, I would come home from school and then get them off the bus, like, help them with their homework, make a snack. Easy job.
Right.
But their mom, when I first started watching them, kind of gave me a list of TV shows they weren't allowed to watch.
Right.
And she gave me all this information. She's like, here's exactly how they're going to trick you. Like, A, B, and C. Like, here's how they're going to pull one over. I'm like, great. I was prepared. I was super ready.
So you thought.
So I thought. And I was really happy. The mom's like, okay, you don't have to worry. I have parental controls set up on the TV. And I found out, like, 2 days into this job that the boys knew the code to the parental controls on the TV.
That's awesome.
And so it was just crazy. I would go to the bathroom and they would put on a show they weren't supposed to watch. And it wasn't anything crazy. I think it was, I forget the name of the show, but it was just a cartoon that had really weird jokes and occasional language the mom just wasn't cool with. Which,
Okay.
that's fine. I respect it.
Right.
But I would go in the other room to go to the bathroom, or sometimes I would help with like household chores, and the boys would just hit it and go back to the show. And as soon as I came in, boom, send it right back.
I did that.
And I'm like, you're 5. How?
Some dangerously smart children.
Yeah, I'm like, how
You're
can you can
5?
coordinate me not being? The older brother was 5. I'm like,
Yes.
how can you coordinate this? How you know the code to your parents' parental controls? You know exactly what you're not supposed to be watching, and you're watching it. And I even asked him about it. I was like, I think this was on Mommy's list, and he's like, I can't read. I don't know what's on Mom's list.
I can't read.
I can't read. I don't know these things.
I don't know what's on the list. I'm like,
Isn't that us?
like you're lucky that you're smart.
It's kind of like
It's gonna come in handy later.
It's kind of like, well, this is not the story's going to tell. It's kind of like my brother. He can't talk, but he knows how to skip commercials on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
He knows exactly. I don't know if he can read the word that says skip ad, but he knows like when it pops up
To
that
hit
he
the
can
arrow.
that he can
Ugh.
do it. He knows how to fast forward, rewind, and then one day he Bluetoothed the TV to my phone and had it projected on it, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I was amazed. And he would smile like, look what I did.
Kids watch us more than we could even realize.
But
They
what-
pick up on so much.
But my story was, I was at a pool one day. I wasn't in my chair, and this kid comes up to me. We have a couple, and
Yeah,
then we'll
I'm
pause it. This kid comes up to me, and he's like, I just want you to know that even though you're really, really short, I know that inside you're old. Like, he was trying to tell me that I wasn't a baby, even though I look like a toddler. And I said, thanks, kid, I'm not that old. And he's like, see, look, this is my iPad. Did you have an iPad when you were my age? I said, iPads weren't even thought of. See, you're old. And he walked away.
It's like when you see the things online, and it's like, if you don't remember this, you're too young.
Yes.
Something like that.
And I'm looking at this kid, and I'm like, this fucking kid. I'm like, touche. I'm like, you're going to give your parents a hard time when you get to my age.
Oh my god.
It was funny.
I'm sure he already is.
Like, because this was at least 4 years ago. And I think he was like 5 or 6. So he's got to be 10 or 11. I was cracking up. After he left, I'm like, that's actually really funny and like really good. But yeah, I guess we could pause it there. The last thing we'll do, we have 2 topics we like to go over. We're going to do 4th of July, like how long we spent it.
Awesome.
Like a crazy story from our past involving, if you have one. And then we want to end with something that he's more into than I am. He thinks we're in this culture of, what do you call it?
Well, actually, it wasn't really about this. Wasn't that we're in a culture of something. It was more about, I was kind of discussing, like we were talking earlier, about like the line, like where we draw the line at obsession. Because thinking about the way the technological age is advancing, with people in public figures, even like Jazz, how they put themselves out there in more ways than ever before, it's just kind of odd to me to think that the way people normally, what is normally now considered, would be like not an obsession, but like maybe even 5-10 years ago, that would be ridiculous to think that you followed them on 5 or 6 different accounts, you know, and then also watched all their videos and kept up with all the news about them. So it was kind of just a conversation that I wanted to have about the idea of like the line of obsession.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right, so, yesterday, so by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be past the 4th of July. But yesterday was the 4th of July, and I want to know what you guys did, and do you have any crazy stories from, like, years past? Because I got one, but, you know, we'll start with our guest.
Awesome. My 4th of July, I learned something about myself, and it's that now that I'm 25, I cannot. And I feel like I'm like whining like an old lady when I'm only 25. But anyway, like I can't drink like I used to.
Yeah, I'm feeling that too.
Wimps.
I used to love drinking during the day, and then I could go home, take a little quick nap or food, and then rally, go out that night.
I can still do that.
Now it's like you drink during the day, and it's like, all right, I'm passed out at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow.
Yep, I took one of those awful like 6 p.m. to 9 naps.
Those are the best.
Oh, they're awful. Like and I'm really proud of myself that I'm being a better party goer. My boyfriend and I took to our friend's house watermelon and chips and guac and beers and soda. And like I just felt really cool and awesome, and it was a like fun time with our friends. But after a couple hours, I'm like, crap, like, I want to die. And we even talked about it. I was like, how about we go grab a piece of pizza and then like take a nap and we'll come back and watch fireworks?
Yes.
Nope. Went home, had my piece of pizza.
And went to sleep.
Went to sleep. He woke me up. He's like, hey, you want to like freshen up and then you go back to actual bed? And I was like, okay, great. Like still in my clothes from the day. It was awful.
That's what yesterday?
Yeah,
That's
it was yesterday.
Happened.
So still a fun day, but I need to, I think, just plan out my day drinking a little better.
I think it could be the heat because it was ridiculously hot yesterday.
That too. We were on our friend's roof and couldn't bear it for more than a few minutes. It was so hot.
I went outside and I'm like, I can't breathe, and turned around and went back in the house.
Oh my gosh. So that was me yesterday, but
We were even, so for my 4th of July, we were shooting up fireworks at like 8, 9 o'clock once the sun just set. But even then, the heat really was bearing down. It was my buddy's, one of my friends I actually do, actually it was my college roommate. I met him at Brandywine's, my good buddy John. His dad and I think his brother, so they bought about $600 worth of fireworks.
Oh.
Yeah, and we just had a field day in a local park. And well, by the time we got home, he was literally like I hug people when I say goodbye. I'm very, close in that way. So when I gave him a hug to leave, he was drenched
my gosh.
like completely, and we hadn't done anything but just all night. But it was awesome. It was really crazy. They bought like 50 of these mortars. Like it's got a little charge in the bottom, so it flings it in the air. It goes like 200 feet up in the air. It's a real firework. Like it looks like professional fireworks. That's the nicest thing about Pennsylvania legalizing fireworks recently.
I was going to say that was a pretty recent thing, right?
It's absolutely fantastic because you remember them big kits they would sell at Walmart?
Yes.
They were just like sparkler fountains. That was nothing compared to what we had.
Amateur.
Yeah, it really was. And one that we didn't actually expect to be as awesome as it was. So we had one of those little ones with the little rockets that go pew, like the really, really loud like whistling rockets. The little one, shot them off one at a time. But then my buddy comes out with one that's like a stick, like this long, with like 100 of them.
Wow.
And we're like, oh, it's gonna be one at a time. It starts shooting them off like a shotgun, like a bunch of them. That was the coolest one of the night because none of us were expecting it, and it's just a shower.
Oh my gosh.
It was a pretty exciting night, I'll be honest.
That sounds awesome.
It was,
Not without its own little minor, ember burns.
there was like, God, it had to do with the fireworks. Oh, I was at VidCon, and I called my mom. I'm like, "How you guys doing?" She's like, "Fireworks are legal now." And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "It just happened today." I'm like, "You gonna get some?" No, but this is cool.
It was cool for everybody driving by for us because we were in Havertown, and Havertown has this little near my buddy's place had this little park. It was next to a main road. It was far enough. It was a fence and everything, so we were pretty good. But there were people stopping. They were really excited to see the fireworks. What was funny was, like a block over, we could see other fireworks shooting up from behind the buildings. Yeah. And we're like, oh, we got one for you. And we start shooting the mortars.
Competing.
And they're huge. We had like 6 or 7 mortars lined up and fired them all at once. It was a fun day. It was a really, really fun time.
We stayed in the house and watched. Well, we were just tired. We watched something called The Wire, which is a series that was on HBO, like back in the day. It's set. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
Sex Past. Like I wasn't allowed to watch it growing up because it's about drug life and street life and things like that. Really good show.
Nice.
Anyway, we've been binge watching that.
Nice.
And then my mom made turkey stuffing. Actually, it was kind of like Thanksgiving.
Like a Thanksgiving with fireworks?
Yeah, and then we had to go out to CVS with the prescription, and people shooting off fireworks in Brookhaven. So we were able to watch that. So that was fun. That was like my day. And then I came home. My mom and I had a conversation about our family. Relatives and crap like that. Things I should. God. Anyway, that was fun. Then we went to bed.
Oh, nice.
So because I have one. Have you guys ever had the craziest story that's ever happened to you on the 4th of July? Something like a little out there.
See, I can't really think of one because I don't really think that my family's done a whole lot for 4th of July. Like 4th of July has always been a celebration. Last year, 4th of July for me was Gettysburg.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Gettys actually, that's something I do on the side. And I'm actually doing Gettysburg this weekend. So a best friend of mine got me into doing actual Civil War reenacting, like fighting on the field. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's also really painful, especially when it's triple digits and wool uniforms.
All the clothing.
Yeah. So I just to clarify, I fight for the North. I'm not that crazy. I'll be honest. I respect the rebels for coming out, but they are a little wild.
I remember I asked him when he told me the first couple of days that he started working with me, I'm like, what side do you fight for? And when he said the North, I'm like, you really would have been fired if you said the South. I'm not
sure
even
there are
kidding.
people who take the whole Confederate rebel thing very little serious.
They are the sorest losers in all of history. They never die. Yeah. We go out on the field and they don't drop. It's terrible.
There's something to be said about that, to never drop.
I mean, yeah, you did say the other day, Jazz, you provided a very good point. The rebels didn't fall. Well, actually, no, I don't know if it was you or someone else that mentioned this too, but somebody mentioned that the rebels didn't die historically also because they would take 3 hits and then they would go down.
No,
versus,
they
were. It wasn't you. I think it was. I think it was one of my buddies. We were talking about it because we're getting excited for the weekend. But they were determined.
Whether they were wrong or not, at least they stood for something.
True.
What
they
about
stood
you?
for money is what it really was when it comes down to it.
Anything crazy?
I can't think of anything crazy. My friend and I would always, we would go to a picnic with my church a lot growing up every 4th of July. And my friend and I one year tried to test out the making fried eggs on the sidewalk.
Oh, cool.
How'd
it go?
It didn't go well. It was just a mess, and tons of bugs came, and we were just over it. So we tried to walk away and just pretend we didn't do it. But
you guys didn't sing any gospel hymns? No hymns?
Not that day, no. But both of our dads caught us and yelled at us and made us clean it up because we just messed up all the sidewalk with like multiple eggs. So
that's a waste of eggs.
Yeah, it was silly and dumb. But
what would Jesus do? That is terrible.
I probably give me a hard time for waste.
Good. That's
so,
you should.
I think that's how I'm feeling. But nothing too crazy on 4th of July. It's usually a pretty tame holiday for me.
Oh, good, because mine will top both the viewers.
Let's hear
and
it.
you guys are going to laugh. I was at Penn State. I was at my friend invited me over to her family's house for the 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
We were having a great time. Nightfall came. We started shooting off fireworks. A couple of them didn't go off.
Ooh.
But we had like a fire pit going.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went inside to get something to eat. We come back out. The fireworks are cleaned up. My friend's dad had done it.
Okay.
We're sitting there eating again. Like maybe 2 minutes later, we start hearing this sizzling sound. And we're like, what is that? And what happened was he had taken the fireworks, all the dead ones, and put them in the fire pit.
Oh, no.
Not realizing that 2 of them didn't go off. And then like, just because they don't go off doesn't mean it isn't active.
Yeah.
So I heard the sizzling sound, and we said, oh, shit. And everyone got out of the way. Now, mind you, I wasn't in my chair. I was on foot, and I had my crutches. My friend's dad's trying to help me. And I'm like, come on. And he thought I was yelling at him. So when we finally got over there and shot off, he's like, why were you yelling at me? That wasn't nice. I'm like, I wasn't yelling at you. I was yelling at my legs, telling them it's time to move.
Oh, no.
And I'm just like, this is not the time to be crippled. Let's go. I'm going to die.
I would be so scared because you don't know how big the explosion would be. Or
it shot way up in the trees.
Oh, went up
but
straight up.
Once I told, because their last name was Savage. Once I told Mr. Savage that I wasn't yelling at him about my legs, we all were dying of laugh. It was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. Once you know everyone's safe, then
Yes.
I could see it being hilarious.
I'm like beating my legs. I'm like, let's go. It could have turned into a Lieutenant Dan moment.
Oh my god.
At any time. But yeah, it was fun. And now that it's over.
Yeah, it's funny to talk about afterwards.
Yeah, well, it would have been if my legs, I don't think they would have blown off, but you never know.
You never do know. That's a fun story. Again, like I said, it's more fun to talk about those kind of things when you're way past them.
It was just funny because Mr. Savage is a really big guy, like a lumberjack, climbs trees and everything, and his feelings really seem to get hurt. Why are you yelling at me?
Oh, yeah, if he was trying to just scoop you up.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a good guy. They're all good guys. They're a cool family.
Nice.
They always brought everyone in the neighborhood over who didn't have a place to... Not that I didn't, but like, he's like, well, if you can't get home to your family, you can always come to our house.
Oh, nice. They live around State College?
Yes.
Nice.
Like, it was like the multicultural. They had like everybody of every race in their house once a week for dinner. It was awesome.
That is awesome. That sounds cool.
It was. So the last thing I want to talk about before I know you have to go soon is what Dan was talking about as far as like obsession, pop culture. Do you have any stars that you're obsessed with? Like, where do you think the line is drawn for this kind of stuff? Where do you think you should draw the line? Should there be a line? I mean, this is what I do, and I rely on those same people that we're talking about to give me income. So, like, am I a hypocrite? Am I not? He says I'm not.
Well, part of the larger conversation is I go to a lot of festivals and a lot of different like DJ sets and I'll be honest raves.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I've met along the way just kind of seem like they're not really there for the right reasons. They kind of just lose themselves to the person, to the DJ, to the experience.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious more along the lines of like, I'm curious about the line of obsession for the reason being that once you go over, like, what becomes of you? Like, do you really like start to sell yourself in a way? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause it's just, I don't know, because it just seems kind of weird to me. I'm not as much connected on social media things as such. I tend to keep it a little bit old school.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it just seems a little bit weird to see this generation of people who are just obsessed with music artists and other entertainers and pop culture. So what I would like to, I guess the question would be, to what do you define as like obsession? Like where does it really draw the line?
Are you more so referring to like bandwagon people that just hop on and they really don't know
I mean, that's
anything
part of it.
about
That's as much part of it as it is anything else, because then you have people who are legitimately obsessed and knowledgeable with someone, and then there's people who jump on just because of friends. It's like that's the whole other topic. It's honestly in the same vein.
I can't stand it. I love listening to dubstep. I can't stand it when I listen to dubstep, try to relate to someone, and the first thing they say is they like Skrillex. Not that there's anything wrong with Skrillex. I think he's a great DJ. No shade. But there are so many other people other than Skrillex.
It just doesn't show off a taste.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's just the mainstream guy, right?
Like
Yeah.
if you're really into dubstep, you're gonna start pulling names that no one else but if you were a true fan would know.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that bothers me. I'll go like, I like Skrillex. I'm like, whatever, man. And I'm just, don't mean to dismiss you, but whatever.
To me, it just kind of seems like polarizing in nature is the fact that we're not really talking about new DJs or how the music is really made and produced and things as such. So it just kind of becomes like, we're just going to talk about the big artists and that's about it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of feel like it waters down in a way because it's like when you kind of really dig yourself, entrench yourself in one person, and just because that's all you know, then it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not as enriching.
I went to one, it wasn't a rave, but it was like a DJ. This was in Lancaster. My friend it was like an underground kind of scene, and we got to talk to him afterwards. He basically said he wanted to stay in the underground scene. He did not want to become mainstream. He said he knew he was capable, but he didn't want to, because once you go mainstream, the art is lost. And he would prefer he said he liked the community and the intimacy between all of us, sweating in this location. And I respected that. I get it. He's like, I can make money doing something else, but this is like my hobby. This is my thing. And I thought that was pretty cool. About you?
I think that idea, because I think, like, when you're saying the word obsession, I'm thinking about when you are so into something that it's affecting your judgment and your sight and what you're producing or how you're reacting to this person. There's people so obsessed with a celebrity or a politician or someone, an athlete, that they mess up once and this person does not want to see that mistake. They don't want to see that the person's reputation or opinion might be different from their own.
So that's kind of what I was thinking about earlier. Like one conversation we had in particular was the whole, who was it? Was Tiffany what? And
oh, yeah,
Beyonce?
we were, long story short, like, you know that thing, Who Bit Beyonce?
Oh, yeah, and Tiffany leaks or sort of alluded to who did it, who bit Beyonce.
But she, there's like a non-disclosure agreement that she had to sign before she even went to the party. No shade to Beyonce. I guess when you get to her level of fame, you kind of have to have that. But I would never go to a party.
You have to control reputation. That's the thing. That's part of the reason why some people, probably the reason why this guy didn't want to be, the DJ you're talking about earlier, didn't want to be mainstream, because you really, really do have to care about reputation, because then you have obsessed fans who, in a situation as this, will come after somebody who breaks a non-disclosure agreement.
I mean,
that's what just becomes a little bit ridiculous to me. It's like,
by law, she should not have said anything if that was in the contract.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she learned her lesson, number one, and number two. It kind of happened in an unfortunate way. But at the same time, Beyonce. You know that all these people are obsessed with her for absolutely no reason.
But that doesn't really give you grounds not to be able to talk to her about things you've seen or things that happened. You know what I mean? I guess I find the whole concept of the non-disclosure agreement for a party just a little bit weird. You know what I mean? That's part of where this obsessive culture kind of comes from to me, because now you can't have people being regular people. You can't hear about regular things happening, which, I mean, somebody biting Beyonce is kind of not a regular thing, but either way.
Somebody biting anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the real question. Why would a human being bite another human being? That is what it comes down to.
I shouldn't say regular things. I should say more of the expansive of things. Like, everybody gets into weird situations. Everybody has weird little problems, weird little quirks. I feel like it's just kind of not human in a way. I kind of feel like it's not human in a way to not be able to talk about these things, you know, to have to physically hide them and then, continue to throw your throw your reputation out there like it's something else.
Now, I will say, like, I don't understand, like, the only reason why you would need a non-disclosure agreement is, because, in my opinion, is because you're doing something you got no business doing. Not you, but somebody at you is doing something they have no business doing.
Knowing you have to cover something up.
Yeah, like, what do you have to hide?
That's what I'm saying, just in general. And then that, but it, that's what I was saying as like a generality. Is like, you know, obviously with the non-disclosure, it's just kind of weird. You're trying to hide something, obviously. But what made it particularly, well, I think it might actually not be that. I think it might be that it's not that something weird's happening. I think it's a matter of the fact that she just wants to be properly sure that she has control of all the information about her going out there.
And it also
that, again, becomes an obsession of your own self-image, which, again, where's that line?
And then also, like, it kind of adds to your popularity, and it makes you more popular than everybody knows that you have to sign one of those things before you even get to a party. Like, that adds and brings your numbers of obsession up.
And even keeping with Beyonce, they bring the obsession up with the fact that they're tight-lipped about so many things. Like, oftentimes, they don't have a publicist. They often don't have people putting out statements for them.
Which I like.
I kind of like that, too, because it's while they are, like you said, having control over what goes out there. But
it's also like crowd control at that point. Like, you have to be sure that your fans aren't going to like riot
or like stalk your children or
I have this feeling that Jay-Z and Beyonce are probably some of the most normal people out there, in a sense, but that's part of how they get their money, and by acting like they're not normal.
Yeah,
that could be a conspiracy theory. But like, is there anybody you're obsessed with, like guilty pleasure, that you're okay with sharing?
My boyfriend gives me such a hard time. I follow the Kardashians too much. Oh, the face you're making at me.
We're judging you. Oh, you're judging
There's
her?
no judgment.
I will sometimes just, like, talk as if I'm friends with them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, did you see, like, Kim did this today? And my boyfriend's like, stop, you don't know her. He's like, you're not friends.
Your boyfriend sounds like an awesome guy.
And I literally just be like, oh my gosh, like, Kim is in Wyoming today, blah, blah, with Kanye, blah, blah. And he's like, stop. Like, please don't. Or what was it? Oh, we had this whole conversation yesterday because Kylie Jenner put up this Snapchat of
good God.
Stormy, her daughter's shoe collection. Like, sneakers and things. And Stormy's, what, like a
How
couple
old
months old.
How old is this child?
She was born in, like, February. So, like, 4 months and change.
Why the fuck does a 4-year-old,
She has tons of shoes.
have a shoe collection? She doesn't even walk.
And Kylie's like, oh my gosh, she's finally fitting into her shoes.
Finally,
I love it.
This is where that line starts to come into me. It's like, why do we need to know about her kids' shoes?
I watch it like poke fun, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is that baby.
I mean, the babies are cute.